The boy in the rain, Daniel Hart, sat alone on his old leather couch, buried under a gray blanket, staring blankly at the TV. He wasn't even watching. The breakup 3 months ago still hollowed him from the inside out. His fiancée, Erin, gone after 5 years. Their life erased like fog from a mirror. Outside, the rain tapped endlessly against the windows, a soft, rhythmic sound almost calming in its loneliness. Daniel's house sat on the edge of town, near the forest line. Quiet street, no traffic, no kids, no reason for anyone to be out here at night. The clock blinked. 6 p.m. Daniel's phone buzzed again. Mom. 4th missed call today. He stared at it until the screen went dark. He sighed, scrolled through his streaming list, and picked some cheap horror movie, grainy, poorly made. Exactly what matched his mood. About 20 minutes in, he noticed something strange. A faint, metallic clang. Sharp, real, not from the movie. Again, clang. Same sound, same pitch. Daniel froze. He muted the TV. Silence, then clang. This time, unmistakably outside. He stood slowly, heart tightening in his chest, and walked over to his bedroom window that overlooked the backyard. Rain blurred everything, dark shapes, scattered furniture, but then movement. In the center of his backyard, standing completely still in the downpour, was a small boy, soaking wet, motionless. Daniel's stomach dropped. The boy couldn't have been older than 8. Skinny, shadowed face, holding a long piece of white pipe in his hands. As Daniel leaned closer to the glass, the boy lifted the pipe and slammed it down hard against Daniel's deck chair. Clang. Daniel stumbled back from the window, pulse racing. What the hell was a kid doing out there? At night? In this rain? Alone? More terrifying, how long had he been standing there? Daniel's mind raced. Lost kid? Runaway? Or something much worse? The rain hammered the rooftop like nails. Daniel's first instinct was to go outside, check on the boy, but something inside him twisted with cold, instinctual fear. Why isn't he calling for help? Why is he just standing there? Slowly, quietly, Daniel crept downstairs, grabbing the old kitchen knife from the counter. Every step felt heavier than the last. The house groaned beneath his feet, like it hated every movement. He reached the back door. The boy was still there, motionless, dripping rainwater like some forgotten doll left in the storm. Daniel reached for the lock, then stopped. Think. If the boy needed help, why hadn't he come to the front door? Why wasn't he knocking, crying, asking? Daniel turned off the kitchen light. Darkness swallowed the room. He moved silently to the small side window, the one near the back steps, barely touched the edge of the curtain with 2 fingers, peered out. His breath caught in his throat. There, crouched just below his back porch steps, were 2 grown men, dressed in black, soaked from the rain, perfectly still, waiting, like predators. Waiting for Daniel to open the door, waiting for him to step outside. And the boy? The boy was bait. A part of some sick, silent trap. Daniel's legs almost gave out beneath him. One of the crouching men shifted, slow, careful, the glint of metal under his jacket, a crowbar. They're armed. Daniel let the curtain fall. He moved backward, heart slamming so hard he thought they'd hear it. His phone, upstairs. As he turned, one of the men outside must have seen the slight movement in the window, because suddenly, bang! The back door rattled violently. Daniel sprinted, knife clutched, white-knuckled. Feet flying up the stairs as the back door shook again harder. The sound of boots stomping onto his wooden porch. Then, crash. Glass shattering. They were coming in. Daniel barely made it to his bedroom, slamming the door shut and jamming a chair under the handle. His breath was sharp, shallow, every sound downstairs echoing like thunder in his skull. Boots on broken glass, heavy footsteps moving through his kitchen. Slow, calm. They knew the house. Daniel grabbed his phone hands, shaking, and dialed 911. He whispered, voice barely holding, "There are men in my house. Armed. They lured me with a kid. please." "Please, hurry." The operator spoke calmly, told him to stay on the line. But then on the stairs came a new sound. Thud, thud, thud. They were coming up, one step at a time. Daniel pressed himself flat against the far wall, knife clutched uselessly in his hand. The footsteps reached the landing. Silence. Then the doorknob shifted. Slow. Testing. Daniel's heart was a hammer in his throat. Bang! The door jolted violently. Again. He couldn't stop the shaking. Couldn't stop seeing that boy standing so unnaturally still in the rain. Like a puppet. Bang! The chair cracked. Daniel snapped, yelling with every ounce of panic left in his body, "The police are already on their way!" Silence. Frozen time. Then footsteps retreating. Fast. Down the stairs, out the broken door. Gone. Daniel stood there, gasping until blue lights bathed the street outside in pulses of cold security. When the police arrived, they searched everything. Gone. No trace of the men. No fingerprints. No vehicle tracks. Only one thing remained. In the middle of the soaked backyard. The small white plastic pipe. Lying exactly where the boy had stood. As if someone had carefully placed it there. Like a reminder. Like a warning. Story 2. The Silent Ice Cream Truck. Spring in Northbridge always came slowly. It was the kind of town where time seemed to stick to the bare tree branches, to the empty streets, to the quiet houses where old lamps cast their yellow, sickly light over cracked sidewalks. A place where the wind carried last year's dead leaves alongside the wet smell of melting snow. Evan Lowell liked that kind of spring. Spring without noise, without people, without anyone else's voices. The whole town seemed like it was holding its breath. It was just another early March morning. Evan had come back home for spring break, like always choosing silence over drunken parties and loud strangers. 6 a.m. The world outside was still half frozen, the streets damp and colorless. He sat behind the wheel of his old Honda, driving toward the small gym at the edge of town past the empty roads and through the lonely streets of Northbridge. And then he saw it. Parked on the side of the road, between quiet houses and dead trees, sat a motionless, frozen shape. An ice cream truck. Old. Massive. Its once white body now stained with dirt and rust. The faded cartoon faces on its side were warped, stretched like twisted masks. It sat there beneath a broken street lamp with no lights. No music. Just there. Still. Evan instinctively slowed down. Something about it felt wrong. Not just strange. Not just weird. Wrong. It was March. It was freezing. No kids, no reason. No one in this part of town even had an ice cream truck. But the worst part? The driver's seat was empty. Utterly empty. The steering wheel slightly turned, like whoever had been sitting there had left only moments ago. Evan felt his stomach twist. He kept driving. 10 minutes later, the gym, music in his headphones, the world trying to return to normal, trying to forget. But as he drove home, the truck was still there, in the exact same spot, and this time, there was someone sitting inside. The man in the driver's seat sat completely still, his face tilted just slightly toward Evan's passing car, and he was staring straight at him. It wasn't a casual glance. It wasn't curiosity. It was focused, heavy, direct, like a hunter locking onto prey. The man's face was long, unnaturally thin, with a pointed, almost cartoonish nose and a patchy, wiry beard. His eyes were wrong, two empty black hollows that didn't blink, didn't move, didn't look away, just watched. Evan kept driving, faster this time, but his hands on the steering wheel were slick with cold sweat. Evan couldn't shake it off. All day long, that image stayed with him. The old ice cream truck sitting perfectly still, beneath that dead streetlight, and that man, staring. There was something deeply wrong about his face. Not just strange wrong. The kind of wrong your brain doesn't know how to process right away. By afternoon, Evan almost convinced himself it didn't matter. Maybe some weird local guy. Maybe nothing. But when he stepped outside later that day to check the mailbox, his heart nearly stopped. The truck was there again. Not down the street. Not parked casually near some house. It was directly across from his driveway. 3 houses down. Its engine was off. No music. No movement. But Evan knew the man inside was watching. Frozen for a moment, Evan glanced down the street. Nobody else around. Just that decaying white box on wheels sitting in total silence. He walked back to the house carefully, trying to act normal, heart beating harder with every step. But once he got inside, he ran to the guest bedroom, the only room with a window facing the street at the right angle. He pushed the curtain aside, just a sliver, and through the glass, across the street, the man was still there, still sitting in the driver's seat, still facing directly toward Evan's house, waiting. Evan watched for minutes. Nothing happened. But every time he left the window, every time he came back, the truck had moved slightly. Sometimes forward, sometimes backward. Never leaving the street, just circling slowly, shifting position, like it wanted him to see it, like it wanted him to know. By early evening, Evan couldn't take it anymore. He went into his brother's old room, digging through the shelves until he found a pair of beat-up binoculars. When he returned to the guest room window and raised them to his eyes, his blood turned to ice. Through the dirty glass of the truck's windshield, he could see the man inside. But the man wasn't just sitting there casually. He was holding his own pair of binoculars, pointed directly at Evan, watching him through the window, through the lenses, straight into his house. And the moment their eyes locked through the glass, the man moved. Fast. He threw the binoculars down, started the truck with a sharp roar of the old engine, and began driving. Away. Slow at first, then faster. Gone. Evan's hands were shaking. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. Someone had followed him home, and now they knew where he lived. That night, Evan barely slept. Every sound outside felt sharp. Every creak in the house turned his stomach. His thoughts spiraled in endless circles. What did he want? Why me? Who drives an ice cream truck in March and follows people home? By 3 a.m., Evan woke up suddenly, without reason. The house was dead silent until he heard it, faint. So faint at first, he thought he imagined it. Music. Not a song from a car radio, not a neighbor's TV. That music, the jingle of an ice cream truck. It drifted through the quiet like a disease, twisted, echoing, broken, way too slow, almost warped by distance or old speakers. Da-da-da, da-da, da-da-da. Evan froze. The music was getting closer. His heart pounded in his chest, freezing him in place. Then, something clicked softly against his bedroom window. Tap, tap, rock, thrown from outside. No, from directly below his window. Panic locked his body for a second, but he forced himself to move. Quietly, carefully, he crept toward the edge of the window, staying low. He slowly, painfully, moved one finger between the blinds, just enough to see. And what he saw nearly made him scream. There, standing in the middle of his front yard, was the man from the truck. And he wasn't alone. On either side of him stood 2 small figures. Children, or at least they looked like children. Tiny silhouettes in the night, standing unnaturally still, holding the man's hands, like puppets on strings. Evan dropped the blinds instantly, heart hammering like a drum in his throat. He stumbled back, grabbed his phone with shaking hands, and dialed 911. As he moved to wake his dad, the old music cut off abruptly outside. Silence. By the time Evan's father came storming down the stairs and they both stepped out onto the porch, the yard was empty. No man, no truck, no children, gone. Vanished into the freezing night. The police came. They took his statement, searched the area. Nothing. Days passed. Weeks. And then, about a month later, Evan's mom called him at college. Her voice sounded distant, thin. "Evan, did you see the news? 2 6-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, had gone missing. Disappeared from a town 30 miles away." The moment she said it, Evan stopped breathing. 2 children, holding that man's hands, standing in his yard, staring at his window. Story 3 echoes on the line. Somewhere in the quiet night of Red Hollow, Tyler Quinn's phone began to ring. It was late, 10:48 p.m. Unknown number. Normally he wouldn't think twice about answering, his job demanded it. Customers, client, random late-night questions. But tonight, he hesitated. There was something about late-night calls that always felt wrong, like crossing a line into hours where people shouldn't exist in your world. The phone rang again. Tyler sighed, rubbed his tired face, and finally answered. "Hello, this is Tyler." Static, heavy, uneven. For a moment, nothing but white noise poured through the speaker. He almost hung up. But then beneath the static, a voice emerged. His voice. Talking, not live, not current. A recording. Word for word. It was a conversation he'd had that afternoon with a client about a test. Drive. Every phrase, every pause, every laugh. His voice, alone. Without the client's responses, like someone had recorded only him. Tyler froze. Chills slid down his spine. His first thought was a prank. Maybe a coworker messing around. But the number wasn't saved. And whoever was playing this knew exactly what he'd said. He hung up, stared at the screen. It stayed dark, dead silent. For the rest of the night, Tyler barely slept. His mind kept replaying that mechanical, staticky version of himself talking into the void. The next night, the phone rang again. New number, same static, same strange, hollow version of his own voice. But this time, it wasn't yesterday's call, it was a new recording. A conversation from earlier that day, completely different. Another client, another moment of his life, stolen, recorded, warped. Only him talking, only his words, alone. Like whoever was doing this was inside his life, watching, recording. Closer than he ever thought possible. For the next 4 nights, it didn't stop. Every single evening, just after 10 p.m., Tyler's phone would light up with a different unknown number. Always a new number. Always the same pattern. Static, then his own voice. Conversations stolen from his day. Recorded, distorted, one-sided. It didn't matter where the conversation had happened, in his car, in the office, even outside. Somehow, someone was listening. Recording only him. And it was getting worse. By night 3, Tyler started hearing things in the background of the recordings. Tiny sounds. Scraping. Breathing. Creaks of floorboards. As if whoever was recording him wasn't just listening. They were near him. Close. Watching. Tyler stopped sleeping properly. He started answering every call during the day from outside, pacing nervously, on his apartment balcony, scanning the streets below. The feeling of being watched never left. His own voice followed him like a ghost, that dead, hollow version of himself whispering through static at night. He started leaving every light on in the apartment, started locking the windows, moving a chair in front of his bedroom door. He even went to the police. The officer who listened to him was polite, too polite, until Tyler realized they thought he was crazy. They promised to look into it, trace the numbers, but without threats or proof. There wasn't much they could do. But Tyler knew this wasn't random. This wasn't spam. This was personal. And then, one night, it changed. The phone rang. New number. Same static. But this time, when Tyler answered and stayed quiet, waiting for his own voice to play again, it didn't. Instead, a new voice spoke. Mechanical. Broken. Filtered through a voice changer. Low. slow. 11. That's all it said. Then the line went dead. Silence. Complete. Heavy. Suffocating. Tyler sat frozen in his dark apartment, heart slamming in his chest. 11. The clock on his wall ticked forward. 10:47 p.m. 14 minutes. 14 minutes until 11 p.m. 14 minutes until what? And whoever it was, they were coming. 10:59 p.m. Tyler sat in complete darkness. Every light in the apartment was off now. On the table before him, his loaded handgun. Cold metal. Heavy. Real. His phone lay next to it. Screen black. Silent. The seconds crawled like insects. 11:0 p.m. Nothing. No call. No sound. No movement. He sat there frozen, sweat sliding down his back, waiting for the call that never came, waiting for something. But there was only the clock ticking. Tick, tick, tick. 11:03 p.m. Still nothing. And somehow, that was worse. Way worse. His mind started to break in slow motion. What if they're already here? What if they're not calling because they don't need to anymore? What if... Tap. A soft knock. Not on the door. Not on the window, from the wall. Inside the apartment. Inside the drywall. Right behind him. A second tap. Higher this time. Then lower. Like fingertips brushing slowly down the inside of the wall, tracing his movements. Tyler shot up from the chair, gun shaking in his grip. Breath shallow. Silence. Dead silence. Until his phone lit up. Unknown number. Ringing. 11:07 p.m. Hands shaking, Tyler answered. He didn't say a word. The static was heavier than ever, like wind howling through broken wires. And then, that voice. Mechanical. Distorted. Closer now. Too close. You already let me in. The call ended. Silence fell like concrete. Tyler barely remembers what happened next. He left that night, moved, changed his number. New city, new life. But some things you don't outrun. Because every once in a while, maybe twice a year, his phone will light up. Unknown number. And in the dead quiet of his new home, he'll answer. And hear himself. Talking. Laughing. From a conversation he doesn't even remember having. Yet,